Yo, what is going on everyone? Guiding Light here, back with another Elden Ring and nightreign video. And in this one, I want to give you guys a bunch of tips and tricks that's going to give you guys the best start and or the best route to take when dropping into the brand new map. So I'm going to show you guys some of the best locations on the map and explain exactly what the icons are and what you want to be hunting for in order to actually get past day 1 and potentially day 2 here on the game. So it does not matter which character you choose, these tips will remain the same across the board. So once you guys get into the game, it will start out at day 1 and you're going to be at rank 0 with 0 currency. Now I'm going to show you guys the exact routes you'll want to take and what you want to go after first so that you can level up very, very quickly and be strong enough to beat the boss once the storm or the night comes through. Now as soon as the game starts, you're going to notice on the map there's a bunch of different icons. The icons that you're going to be wanting to look out for though are these gold towers. Now, because the map is dynamic, you're not always going to drop in the same place, and these places might not be in the same spot every time you drop. But what you want to do is open up your map and take a look out for these golden towers. These are going to be known as churches in the game, and this is where you will want to head first as soon as you guys drop in. Now, as soon as you drop in, you'll also land on a camp with various enemies around you. You will want to take out a few of these enemies and be sure to loot them. Now, in the first camp that you land on, this is what the camps will look like. Here, there will also be a few weapons that will drop or that will be in the chests as well. Now, it depends. It's very rare to get very, very good weapons out of these, but occasionally you will actually get better weapons than the ones you start out with. But what you really want to be on the lookout for is either a crossbow or a normal bow. That way, if you're running this class here or a melee class, you can actually switch in between melee and archery. This is just a small tip to help you guys out because sometimes the bosses will require you to be at a distance. It's going to be better to fight some of those bosses at a distance, and so it's nice to have a second weapon. Now, after marking one of those churches or one of those golden towers, you want to immediately be on your way to them. But on the way to that church, if it's far away, you're going to be able to stop at some of the fortresses or bases along the way. Now, in all of these forces or these bases, you're going to see these miniature bosses. These bosses actually have names on them, as you can see here. And every time you take out one of these bosses, you're going to get a major XP boost, which will help you to level up faster. Also, once taking down a named boss, it will automatically replenish all of your potions up to full and allow you guys to also spawn in a level up area where you can immediately level up your character. So you want to try and take out as many of these miniature bosses as you can, as quickly as you can, because they offer you the best resources and also potentially the best drops, because after every fight, you're going to get a choice between 1 or 2 drops, and sometimes those drops will end up being better weapons and or even better attributes for your character. But as you can see, after leveling up, you're also going to get that golden pool to spawn in. That will help you allow you to level up and will also reset your potions, your stamina, and everything back to full every time you visit one of those. So it's really great to take out one of those bosses because you know when you're done with the boss, you're going to be replenished and be able to go straight on to the next objective. Now, speaking of the next objective, as you guys can see here, we are still heading after that golden tower. The reason why we are going after this golden tower or this church is because every time that you visit one of these locations, you can actually get another healing potion. So as you can see here in the top left, when you start out, you're going to start with 3 healing potions. But once you make it to one of these churches, you can use the altar here and it will actually grant you another potion. Now this is huge because when you go into the boss fight, you're going to be able to keep these and continue to stack them up as you go along. You may also come across these waning stones or these warning stones. What these do is allow you to heal your teammates as a group. And so every time you visit one of these churches, you know you're going to be getting a lot of healing items, which you will need for the major bosses in the game. So make sure everyone on your team activates the altar. And as you can see now, we have 4 overall healing items and we have already hit level 3. Now that we have visited the church, what we want to do is actually go and try and mark another church if we can try and make it there before the night comes or the storm closes up. Now, on the way to this church, though, we're going to be stopping at these fortresses and these bases, just like I was mentioning before, because there are these miniature bosses along the way, which get you guys the most of the souls or the XP, which can be used to level up your character. Now, once traveling across the map, you're going to come across these ads, these enemies that can basically be one hit. They're not much of a threat, but you want to take them out anyway because they are going to give you the souls or the XP, which will allow you to level up. So after visiting this location, we're going to head over to the nearest fortress. This route might not be identical to yours, because you're always going to drop in a random spot. But these bosses or these major bosses always spawn within the fortress. And so you always want to come here and try and find as many named bosses as you can. Now, you may also come across chests while exploring as well. To be honest, these chests don't carry the best items. They carry little items like grenades or XP boost. They have carry little things that will increase your XP gain and things like that, or take away poison. So, for the most part, you don't want to go out of your way to get these chests or waste too much time. However, there are a few useful items within them occasionally that you can use if you want to. Now, also, when taking down enemies, as you can see here, once the enemy is staggered, you can actually go in for a finishing move, and this helps quite a bit in just about any fight, but especially when doing the bosses. Now, this is actually was supposed to be a three-person game. However, our teammate left, and me and this random player I was playing with managed to get all the way through day 1 and 2 by following these tips. So just keep that in mind, guys. Even if your teammates leave, just know that if you and your team and one other person are following each other around, you guys are actually supporting each other. It's actually quite easy, in my opinion, to get through some of these activities. Now, as you open the chest, you may come across these smithing stones and things like that. Those stones are very important because they can be used to upgrade your weapons. There's also random buffs that you can find inside of these fortresses as well, which will increase your overall resistance and your overall attack. So it is good to take a look in the fortresses and loot the whole entire fortress. Don't just take out the major boss and leave, because there's oftentimes where there is actually good loot, or right here where it says boost physical damage. That's actually something you can take on with you and will continue to stack up as well. Just like the churches that give you the healing potion buff, these fortresses can give you buffs to your overall attack power. As you can see now, I'm running around with this red glow on me, and that is because I did pick up that buff. Now that we've cleared out that fortress, we're going to set our waypoint to another fortress or another church, whatever you can do to take out as many bosses and clear out as many enemies as you can before the storm circle closes up. So I did skip a little bit ahead of this clip because all we did was run across a few fields to get closer to this church. But as you guys can see, we have now made it to a second church before the storm even closed up, while taking out many bosses and enemies along the way, which has put us to level 5 and also now given us a total of 5 overall healing charges, which when going into the boss, especially in a 2-man lobby, makes a giant difference. Now, another thing you may want to do before the circle closes up is actually take a trip over to the shops. Now, these shops are normally found around the fortress area as well, where you can then buy warning stones to help heal you and your teammates. You can also buy other things like weapons, although I don't suggest buying weapons as it's very easy to get other weapons from drops normally. But if you have the souls for it, you might as well. And you can also then go over here and strengthen the damage of your normal weapon so long as you have those waning stones. And if you don't have the stones, you can simply buy them from the shop right there and immediately apply the attributes. So these are all things you will want to do before the storm circle closes. You are in a bit of a rush due to this, and make sure to level up as much as you can along the way and just continue to collect souls wherever you can. But you want to mostly go after those bosses as they are going to grant you the most. But each and every one of these locations on the map, from the towers to the fortresses, all have special uses and can be looted along the way as well to help you level up. So I did skip a bit ahead of this clip once again to show you guys that eventually the storm or the nighttime will come in. Now, if you're in a solo lobby and this nighttime storm touches you at all, it will immediately take you out. So be very careful if you're playing solo to never go in the storm at all, because it will immediately end your game. Instead, now if you're playing in a lobby with other players, it will actually immediately do damage to you over time, allowing you a little bit of time to get out. However, I don't suggest it. Now, once the storm begins to close up, take one more trip to a level up shrine to reset your potions and put yourself at full health. And then immediately you're going to want to travel over to the golden tree on the map. This is always going to be in a random location. However, that golden tree is always going to be the final boss. And so this is where you will want to end your lobby or end your match once the storm begins to file in. Now, before the boss fight starts, you can take certain buffs and begin to start your attacks if you want. But the biggest part about this is really just making sure that to take out these bosses, the best thing is that if the boss is aggro to you, meaning that it's doing damage to you, make sure not to get hit as much as possible and let other people do the damage. Now, this is why playing solo is so hard, because you have no one else to take the aggro of the bosses and all of the enemies away from you, allowing you to actually deal damage. So the way that I was able to get through this boss multiple times now is simply by dodging the attacks, blocking, and when the boss is on me or trying to aggro me, you just simply unlock on from the attack and walk away so that you don't take any more damage or put any more stress on your teammates. Now, this boss fight was definitely difficult even as a duo and would be much, much easier as 3 people. Now, I'm going to fast forward the clip. Now, the beginning of the boss fight is just a bunch of ads. There's a bunch of enemies that are not the boss. Once you take them out, the bosses will spawn. However, there's a chance you might not get the exact same boss as me. There's actually a chance of getting other bosses as well. Now, because I got this boss instance, there's 2 different bosses that spawned. Luckily, we were 2 players, so it was pretty easy to just keep aggro of one of the bosses and just deal damage one piece at a time. Now, there really isn't any special strat to beating these bosses other than really just blocking, being patient, and like I was saying, when the boss is aggro to you, make sure to not deal too much damage, to make sure that you just block and don't take too much damage while outputting damage. So there's really not much you can do. There's special strats for some of the bosses. However, this one is really just surviving and dealing damage at your will. Now, once you get about halfway through the boss, there will be a second phase where a bunch of additional enemies spawn. You may want to save your ultimates for this, as some of those ultimates can do damage over time or to big areas of enemies. So that is the only tip I can give you guys. Now, once all of the ads are down, you can eventually also stagger the bigger bosses, and that will allow you to go in for finisher moves. However, the finisher moves will not completely finish the enemy. It's more of a lethal attack or hitting a crit point, so it will only do massive amounts of damage, but it will not completely finish them out. So I fast forwarded a little bit more, and we got very, very close on this run to be being completely taken out. However, we were able to take down the boss and get on to day 2. Now, this would have been a very, very easy run, in my opinion, if we just had a third player. And also, given the fact that this was only was a random player, we had never played together, I think this was actually a really, really easy run to begin with. Now, you're going to get certain upgrades from beating the day, and then after that, you will move on to day 2. Now, in day 2, it's going to be the exact same as day 1, but now you're going to get these ultimate bosses which spawn. So instead of immediately going to the shrines or to the churches or to some of the bases, what you want to do is actually go over to these ultimate bosses. The reason for this is because these bosses will now drop enhanced weapons, which will be one of the only ways that you guys can go and be strong enough to then beat day 2. Now, I don't want to make this video go too much in depth. Those were all the tips and tricks I could give you guys to have the best start and to get through day 1. Now, as I get through days 2 and 3, I will definitely make more videos and more guides. So if you enjoyed this video or if it helped you, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for future Elden Ring content. But that's about it for this one. I guarantee you guys will have a much easier time now getting through day 1, whether you play with randoms or with friends. So hopefully this helped you, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.